Little something. So I am so excited. Jillian is a lovely sideline sister here, and we have chatted. And I got to be honest with you, when I have questions, do you know who I turn to? Is this one? Okay, so she's actually like the guru. So I told her, I was like, let me speak first because you're gonna have more to add than I do. So let's just start with this. Okay, I want everybody to first know that marijuana and hemp are not the same thing. Okay, that's the first very basic thing here. We throw around the term very like what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of like, haha, we sell cannabis, right? Because it's eye catching, because people are like, ooh, because they think the fun stuff, right? And like we get a chance when we do that. Some people know, but some people don't. And it's our end to really educate them on, hey, everybody knows what getting high is, right? Because we have either we have a good impression or a bad impression about this, but not everybody knows what it is to do the beneficial, like to the more medicinal side of it, if you will, because CBD acts on our body a completely different way. So sorry, let me switch this. And mute. Sorry. Oops. Lynn, you're unmuted. I'm sorry. I was trying to have the gallery view and it keeps switching faces and throwing me off, squirrel. So anyways, so cannabis is, if you think of like citrus. Okay, so let's say that cannabis is like citrus, and then you have marijuana, which would be like an orange, and you have hemp, which is like a lemon, right? So they're kind of the same family, but they're completely different things. So that's the first very basic thing to know. Now, that being said, something we will lead into in a little bit is I want you to keep that same kind of tree structure in your mind and know that CBG is up here. And when you have hemp, you have more of CBD. And when you have marijuana, you have more of THC. That's going to come in helpful later. We'll get into that. First is the endocannabinoid system, which is in every last one of us. And that is why CBD is so beneficial, because CBD interacts with your endocannabinoid system. Your body actually produces two naturally occurring endocannabinoids. So you produce anandamide and you produce 2-AG. Everybody does, right? Every mammal produces these two things. They are naturally occurring within us, since the term endo. And CBD, THC, all of those things are phytocannabinoids, okay? So they come from a plant. So basically, you can supplement your system using plant medicine to help the naturally occurring things in your body just work better. So that being said, I'm gonna let Jillian talk for a minute. I think that was a nice little segue because I know that she can add a lot to this, and she probably knows receptors a little better than I do. So I'll mute for a minute.
Hey guys. All right. So leading off of what Jenny said with the ECS. So we, like I said, we have receptors, and most of us are familiar with the CB1 and CB2 receptors because those in this industry are the ones we talk about most. There is a CB3 receptor that is not, there's not a lot known about it. And there are a ton of other receptors that some of the cannabinoids also work with. But we're going to focus, when we talk about, we're just going to focus on CB1 and CB2 because those are the primary ones. So when I teach, I sometimes I teach at local events about the ECS because people still, even all these years into it, people still don't even know that it exists. So when it's described as like a lock and key system that's inside your body. It's the largest network of neurotransmitters that you have. So it's like they're locks. All the receptors are locks. And in order to unlock them to do things, they need different or not just so much cannabinoids, phytocannabinoids, whatever. And those are the keys that either some of them stick directly to them. Some of them just respond with them, and a lot of them just kind of work back and forth together to create when your body is in homeostasis. Like that is the goal of the whole system, is to create that so that your body is working exactly how it's meant to work. And a lot of times it doesn't. And then we end up with the ECS deficiency, where our body doesn't produce the cannabinoids that it's supposed to. And so supplementing them with any kind of phytocannabinoid, obviously, here we work with CBD and all that, but there are a lot of different ones, and even vegetables. And that is how we're going to lead into talking about the different cannabinoids, but that's how we can fix the deficiencies we have by using what we have available to us, or again, supplementing with, like I said, there's so many, when I learned about this, like there are so many different foods that have cannabinoids in them that can help us. There's so much crazy stuff out there. So I guess we can just go into the cannabinoids now, because that's really just the gist of, like the rest of the ECS, just a broad picture of it. So you kind of get an understanding of what it is, what it does, how it works. So do you want to start with?
I wanted to touch one more thing on the ECS that I think is helpful, because so in a way that I like to kind of explain it to my people as well. So Jillian said the lock and key system, right? So, and this is completely like just to kind of paint a picture in y'all's head. It's the best way I can help. If you were to imagine that there are 10 points on a cell, right? So let's say like, I don't know, I wish I had something that was more like had different like, drawing things, right? Like if this one here is for pain, and that's what cortisol, right? And then this one here is whenever you overeat,
Like
right? And then this one here is like your immunity, right? Look, she's got something. Check it out. I love it, right?
My little
So basically what happens is as your body like becomes, so you can take different pharmaceuticals, right? That help one of those locks, right? That's what pharmaceuticals help, one lock. But CBD is amazing because your body's natural endocannabinoid system is what can work with all of them. So you have to think of your cannabinoids as an interchangeable key for all of these different locks that can work on different things. Like there are different things that can work on each of them, but the reason that CBD works so well is because it CBD blocks the uptake of your naturally occurring anandamide and 2-AG. So the idea is, I think, if you, and the way I understand it, Jillian, tell me if I'm wrong, is that when you take CBD, you're supposed to actually dose CBD a couple times a day. When you take CBD, you don't just take it one time. So this is first. Okay, so let's go into actually taking CBD as medicine. Okay, when you take CBD as medicine, there is an exact way of, I say an exact way. A general rule of thumb is a quarter of your body weight split 2 times a day. So most people, if you figure that somebody is around about 160 to 200 pounds, that kind of encompasses a lot of people, right? That average serving size then is going to be, if you're 160, a quarter of that is 40. If you're 200, a quarter of that is 50. Split 2 times a day is 25 milligrams. That's why most of our things are 25 milligrams, because that's approximately a dosage for an average person, right? But everybody's system is different. So some people are going to metabolize quicker. Some people are going to have smoked a whole bunch of weed and they might need more, right? Because their systems are going to be blocked a little bit. So if you are dealing with somebody who smokes, you probably are going to definitely want to like, hey, you're going to want my 10 milligram Delta 8 because the 5 milligram ain't touching them. Okay. Like these are also things you want to know. But if you have somebody who's never tried it before, ease them into it. Okay. Give them like a mommy's mimosa and let them be like, just take a baby hit. Just take a baby hit, girl. That's all you want. Take a baby hit. It'll hit them quick. It'll last a very short time. And if they end up paranoid, they never have to do it again, right? But I'm just kidding. It doesn't end up like that. Okay, we're getting off track. I get off track a little bit. But you have to know, you guys have to understand that like it works differently. So when you take CBD, and you take it 3 times a day, basically CBD lasts longer. There are different ways you can take CBD, THC, whatever, different cannabinoids. You can take them inhaling them. That's going to hit you quick, right? It's going to take about 15, 30 seconds, maybe a minute to hit. The effects are going to hit, and they're only going to last like a half an hour, right? You can take them sublingually. That is going to hit in about 15 minutes because it bypasses the liver. It goes straight into your bloodstream whenever you take it sublingually. I think some of it goes through the liver, but I know that for the most part. So Jillian, your screen's jumping around. So I was like, is she trying to correct me?
No, I bumped the whole thing.
I'd say that's right? Whenever it's sublingual, does it bypass the liver? I'm pretty sure.
I think it does go directly into your bloodstream, and most of it doesn't get filtered out when it's directly in. But I mean, some of it, I think anything that's in your bloodstream, some of it gets filtered out, but most of it, because it's already in there,
sublingual is definitely a much faster faster method of delivery. And if you have people, because there are some people who are unresponsive to edibles. So, and I'm not sure, but I almost wonder sometimes if gummies don't really work for those people, because I think that they need a tincture, because it can actually, when you eat any, psychedelic cannabinoid, if we should, or intoxicating cannabinoids, so delta 8 and THC especially, those turn into 11 hydroxy THC in the liver. It's a completely different cannabinoid. At that point, whenever you're eating delta 8 or delta 9, so somebody can have an edible made from THC or an edible from delta 8, and like when it actually hits their liver, it's the same thing. It turns into the same thing when it processes, but some people are unresponsive to that. I'm getting really off topic. I know. I get really passionate and I get off topic. This is all important information for you guys to know. I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of rabbit holes you can go down. But so let's stop there. Is it okay if we share this after in a private group? Most likely, yes. You can share this wherever you need to help. But Jillian, I'm going to pass it back to you actually. So we are going to talk CBG first, because of all that I just said. CBG is what all of them start as, okay? So when you have cannabinoids, CBD, CBN, CBC, THC, delta 8 THC, all of them started as CBG. That's why we call it the mother of the cannabinoids, and that's why the 777 tincture is like, you guys, it's a freaking steal, by the way, right now. That 2 for $40, get you some and try it. It's even something you can just pass out and pump in people's drinks. It's the cannabinoid for inflammation. I'm not supposed to say that, I don't know, but so we're not doctors here, but it is technically the cannabinoid that works best for that sort of a thing. If you have those issues, you might want to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I have, since we launched that, I have been using that. That's been my number one since day one. I have 5 autoimmune diseases and I don't have flares anymore. And I used to be on a lot of stuff. I don't take any meds anymore. I'm only on a biologic to keep my immune system in check because it's kind of a jerk. It just hates everything. So, but other than that, this is my number one, and this is what I don't go without, because I feel like a huge bag of crap after about 3 days, everything goes downhill. So I'm just going to read. This is when I do my things at events, I read. This is like I have my little presentation that I made, and I just read from it because it's a really good, quick description of CBG. Okay, so CBG, or cannabigerol, it's the mother of the cannabinoids. It's non-psychoactive, and it's derived from its acidic form CBGA, and it's synthesized within the plant to create all the other cannabinoids. So as the plants age, all the other cannabinoids are produced. And then some of them, as they age, more are produced, which we'll get into also. It's found in much smaller concentrations in each plant, but it works better than all of the other cannabinoids, and it helps them perform better as well. CBG binds to both CB1 and CB2 receptors, but it doesn't activate them. Instead, it plays a vital role in producing a wide range of other cannabinoids. It releases anandamide and neurotransmitters that correlate with joy, enhanced mood, sleep, and appetite. It also has strong antibacterial and antifungal properties, helps increase energy, protects brain and nerves, helps lower cholesterol, relieves stress, and binds to other receptors that I was talking about earlier that help fight pain and inflammation. We don't use those words, of course, pain and inflammation, but those are real things that this has been scientifically proven to do. And what I wanted to say real quick back on CBD when we were talking before, I forgot I was going to bounce in when Jenny did. Another really good thing that CBD does is it inhibits the breakdown. When our ECS has our cannabinoids, like the ones we make, they're followed right by enzymes, because otherwise your system gets overloaded. So the enzymes break them down, and CBD inhibits that breakdown. So like a lot of people metabolize things really fast, or they're the chemical imbalances. And that's one of the really good ways that CBD helps with all that stuff, is because it doesn't allow the breakdown of the things that we actually need. So I'm gonna bounce it back to Jenny if she has anything to add about CBG.
Yeah. I see, that is a wonderful description. And I was going to say, I didn't mean to start getting into the CBD, because we're supposed to start with CBG. I just went off on a tangent because it was there, and it was just like I said, I get so passionate because I've learned so much. And just full disclosure, I've smoked almost every day of my life since I was 17. I'm 37. I just started taking CBD a year and a half ago, and it has changed my life, you guys. It has changed my life. I thought all along, and I knew the difference between, smoking indica and smoking sativa. I'm all day long, in the streets and in the sheets sort of deal, like we're one or the other, depending on what you're using it for, right? Like sativa for the streets. Yeah. Anyways, but somebody left. Sorry if your kids are here. Oops. Forget it's like still 5 o'clock on the West Coast. My bad. We're over here on the East Coast. I'm like freezing out here. It's like 40 degrees. Anyways, I didn't mean to get into that. So CBD though is what comes from CBG, right? So if you're going with the hemp plant, but there are actually still little bits of CBD produced in a marijuana plant, just like there are still bits of THC produced in a hemp, right? So like you're going to get a lot, but the overall balance in a hemp plant is of CBD. So that's where we get our CBD from. And CBD, as Jillian said, does help block the uptake of different things as well. So CBD is one of those that actually like kind of attaches, it doesn't attach the receptors. It helps block the uptake, right? So it's working on other things, I think, around. Whereas THC is going to attach directly to your receptors. But
it does bond with other it doesn't bond with CB1 and CB2 receptors, but it does bond with other receptors in our bodies.
Sorry, I just got a text that came through.
I was like, did she hear me? Am I frozen?
No, no, I heard that. Sorry, I did. It was slightly distracting because it was a teamy, but it's okay. So yeah, CBD. Are we done with CBD? I apologize. You go.
What I just said. The receptors that it bonds with are the serotonin receptors and our TRPs, and those regulate pain and vasodilation. It's a natural antioxidant with anti-inflammatory properties. Blah, blah, blah.
CBD, I wish I would have had it out here with me. CBD, I have a chart inside and it shows you, it's a graph, but like you can literally look up Google CBD pie chart and like what comes up is a chart that has all the main cannabinoids. And if you look at it, like almost half of the dang pie chart is CBD for anti-inflammatory, antifungal, antibacterial, anti-this, anti-seizural, right? Okay. So let me at least to say one thing about CBG as well. So this speaks to how, even though it's not scientific, something that they definitely have known. One of the only FDA approved medication that has like a CBD kind of thing is for seizures, because they actually have done enough research to realize that children, they did research on children under the age of 6 who were having really bad seizures, and they found out that they had a 60% less amount of, it was either anandamide or 2-AG, but they were just deficient in that automatically. And when they supplemented that, their seizures stopped. So there is also a thing that where THC though can instigate seizures, right? So like you will have people maybe that you cross that you're like, you might know this, where seizures are good for them, and they're going to be leery because they heard that marijuana or that cannabis was good for seizures, and they smoked and they went into an epileptic shock, or whatever it is called, just because like if you smoke THC heavy cannabis, you can do that. But I see somebody here says, yes, I have epilepsy. Have you found relief with CBD? I would love your real-time testimony over there in the comments. I don't know if you've tried it, but I hope so. And all we can do here is just spread these awareness. There is a book out there. It's called Cannabis is Medicine. Everything I'm talking about, I read this book and I love it. I use it for reference all the time. And then I go and I look up different things as well. And just do a little side research like Jillian does, I'm sure. So CBD is super beneficial. And then what we were saying was you need to take it like 3 times a day. That was the other thing I had started saying that I kind of squirreled off on. Okay. So CBD, when you start to take CBD, you want to take it a few times a day. And the best way is the general rule of thumb is start low and go slow. Okay. So you always want to start people with less. A way of dosing a tincture. My favorite way to tell people if they've never done CBD before is that I would like to get them a tincture. I usually start off with birthday cake just because it's really straightforward. It's nice and tasty. It's a nanotechnology. It's going to act fast. I have a sheet that I can share that has some of this breakdown stuff of tinctures too, so it'll help out with that. But basically, you can tell people to drop 1 drop per hour and add a drop each hour. So if they start at 1 o'clock, they're going to do 1 drop. If they start at 2 o'clock, they do 2 drops. They start then 3 drops at 3, 4 drops at 4, and whatever hour they feel the relief they want. If it takes them until hour 6, you add the last 4 hours of a dose, and that's kind of where you tell people to start. If you were to do that, it comes out to about 18 drops, right? I think I did my math right. It's THC drops, and that's like almost a half of a dropper. Okay. So you know that your person, you want to tell them, hey, just try to take a half a dropper 3 times a day and see where that gets you. And then you kind of want to keep up on them. Like you want to know how this stuff works because there is no doctor. They can't go to a doctor to help them, you guys. Okay. So like they can't go to their doctor and be like, hey, I got this really great supplement. How do I use it? Like their doctor's not going to know. So you have to know. You have to be the one that's like actually, able to I'll read that in a minute. You have to be the one that's able to tell them how to use it. So make sure you're knowledgeable so that you can. The next one we're going to go to now is CBN. Right? And CBN is what happens whenever, actually, I think we should go to THC. So now we're going to talk about THC because CBN is actually what happens when THC over ripens in a plant. Okay. So Jillian mentioned earlier that like everything starts out as CBG, and as the plant grows, it turns into these different things. Right. So as the plant grows, the CBG starts forming into CBD in the middle of like the flowering cycle, right? As it's going through its growth phase and it starts going into its flowering cycle, that's when the CBG is transforming from CBG into CBD, right? If you're dealing with a marijuana plant, it's going to turn into THC. And then as THC over ripens, if you know anything about growing, you're supposed to pay attention to the trichomes. When the trichomes get past the point of milky and they're turning to amber, that's what's happening, okay? You're going from THC to CBN. And then the CBN is what is actually your sleepy time cannabinoid. And it actually makes perfect sense if you really think about what is happening in a plant, why CBN is good for sleep, right? Okay, I don't know what actually CBN stands for. Do you?
Do I? Just cannabinol.
Cannabinol. Okay, I didn't know what CBN was. I've never. Cool. Okay. Do you have something to add on that? Do you have some lovely notes? Because I like your notes.
On THC or CBN?
On the CBN.
CBN. CBN does bind to the CB2 receptors, and that's why it's so good for sleep. It's also good for immune system function. It's good for pain. It has anti-cancer properties, and it is good for your brain. So it's a really good neurocannabinoid. That's about all I have on that one.
I don't feel like there's a lot of information out there on CBN.
No, not really.
Because it's not something people really want to do.
Most it doesn't do a lot.
I'm just kidding. I was like, most people want to pick the plant at the point of ripeness, so they don't let it get to that point. That's why we don't know enough about it. I'm just teasing. Okay. So, and the last one, we saved we actually have 2 more. Okay. So we have THC real quick. So THC stands for tetrahydrocannabinol, right? And I say it right? Oh my God, I hate saying that word, even though I know what it is. That's why we just stick with THC, because you get tongue twisted, you guys. That's the one I call the fun one, right? So that's the one that everybody knows, and some people like it and some people don't. And this is what's great, because the people who don't like that's your in, because they were okay with, normally they're okay with cannabis. They just don't like what it did to them. They've tried it. They didn't really like what it did to them for some reason. Maybe they were paranoid. Maybe they were whatever, right? But these people know that it's beneficial to some people. And you're like, hey, guess what? Did you know that THC and CBD aren't the same thing? And you can come and tell them why these 2 things are so very different and talk them possibly into trying some CBD, because the difference between CBD and THC is that CBD is, both of them are psychoactive in the fact that they work on your psyche, right? So they're going to alter your state of mind in some way, either by blocking the uptake of your natural stuff or not. But THC is intoxicating. So THC actually like gets up there and it's like, hey man, it binds directly to your receptors so that it's making things misfire. Okay. So whereas your neurons are trying to fire the memory at you and you're just like, doop, what was squirrel? Guilty. Okay. So Jillian, I'll pass it over to you a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, on top of that, THC can't be broken down by the enzymes. And that's why the psychoactive effects that you get last so much longer than anything else. I don't know if there's a whole lot really to say on. I mean, most people know what THC is, and this is. I mean, they are both. Delta 8 is also THC. This is Delta 9 that we're talking about right now. Let's see. It acts as an agonist between the CBD molecule and the CB1 and 2 receptors. So if it is on a receptor, the CBD, because it interacts with THC, they can together create the entourage effect. So those two, that helps the CBD molecules bind.
Another good thing to know is that if you accidentally take too much THC, CBD will counteract that.
It does. Yep.
So, and also, like, and just for you guys out there, in case you're wondering, depending on if you're somebody who's trying to get really lifted, you won't if you've taken too much CBD. Like, it's just being honest with you. Don't waste your money. So we have Delta 9, right? We have Delta 9 THC, which actually is what comes from the marijuana plant. And then we have Delta 8 THC, which is this intoxicating cannabinoid that's in a hemp plant, which is where the loophole is. And that is why we can sell it. There it is. And that's why, right? So when people are like, and they get at you and they're like, wait a second, I have a video that's going viral right now because I was like, legal cannabis jobs for the win. Like, hit me up. Do you know how many people are like, wait, I thought we were like selling bud? Like, no, boo, I'm sorry. That is federally illegal. But hey, but this is your in. You know what I mean? It's all in how you spin things, I feel like, to people. And the more you know about it, the better you can actually educate on it so that you're telling people who want the information the right information. And the people who don't really know, you know, it's you can hopefully help them know, and maybe they won't be as judgmental about certain things. But Delta 8 is our fun one. The reason we also only put it in 10 milligrams is because that is what has to be done in order for it to ship across state lines when it's in edible form, is 10 milligrams. I feel like I read that somewhere. Don't completely quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. And the reason why it doesn't ship to all 13 or 14, whatever, there's a certain amount of states that we don't ship it to, is more has to do with tax laws than anything. Because like Colorado is completely fully legal of like all the things, and like we can't ship there. So anyway, I'll let Jillian add whatever she wants to about Delta 8.
Okay. Yeah, I think another reason I think a lot of the states, especially the legal ones, don't allow it is because they try to keep everything in state. I know that's Michigan. Michigan won't allow Delta 8 because they produce it and they want their state to have, which it makes sense. It really does. Delta 8 and Delta 9 structure-wise are almost identical. However, like the double bond atoms are in different spots, but the properties are they can be so much different. Like Delta 8 is a lot more medicinal than Delta 9. Delta 9 is fun. Delta 8 actually has the more medicinal properties. Like, it can help, you know, Delta 9 also does too, like helping with nausea and stuff, but also with Delta 8, like it helps more with like your sensory processing stuff. It helps more with stomach, like your gut, like nausea and stuff like that. I don't remember what else, but there's a couple of pretty decent size differences like that it is a lot better than like Delta 9, and it doesn't have the effects, like it's not as strong as Delta 9, so it doesn't have the horribly intoxicating effects unless you're super sensitive and eat way too much, of course, and you know anything will do that to you. But I think they say it's like a quarter to a third as potent as Delta 9, so that's good for people that are too sensitive, because it doesn't have like the effects of like paranoia and stuff like that, all the negative stuff you get from Delta 9. Delta 8 doesn't really have those properties, so it helps a lot of people that can't use regular Delta 9.
I love that. I do like that, because I was gonna say it is definitely a cannabinoid that's good for people who didn't like how high they got too, because like, but they still want a little something. And I'll be honest with you guys, it's a really good, like I quit drinking, and our Delta 8, I really feel like helped with that. Like just being able at the end of the night to have my water, like my Pineapple Express drink with like a watermelon mojito, couple watermelon mojito. I mean, I'll be honest, I ate 2 of them and drank a drink with them most of the time, but like still, whatever, guys. I'm for. Told you I was smoked every day since I was 17. I probably should give my system a rest, and I just can't. By the way,
I use the HHC. I have never been able to take a tolerance break until I started HHC, and I was able to stay like 4 or 5 days without THC just using that.
I say real quick, HHC, because I didn't touch on that at all, and I totally forgot to mention that. First, Delta 8, our Delta 8 comes extracted from the hemp plant here. some Delta 8 is synthesized from CBD, but ours is actually extracted. We are one of 6 ISO certified labs that actually do this process. So we are like, we are the ish when it comes to like our products. Our products really are legit.
That's one of the big points that I touch on with people, especially in public when I'm having conversations, is because the hemp plant itself is a natural filter to the earth. You have to be really careful what's in stuff. And most of Delta 8 is synthetic or synthesized. And unless there's some, I mean, most of the stuff you get at a dispensary does not come with third-party results of any kind. So unless you have those results, you don't know what you're ingesting. You don't know what you're vaping. You know, you got to be careful with what you put in your body, especially with synthetic stuff.
And especially with hemp, because like she said, it's actually a natural soil cleaner. So what you're doing, if you're getting it from the wrong places, is you're getting it grown and it's actually absorbing all these metals, and then you're smoking it and putting these metals into your body, which is another reason that GTFO is a really good thing whenever it comes to this kind of industry too. I mean,
Fun fact, they have actually used hemp at Chernobyl to suck the radiation out of the soil.
True. It's very true. HHC, y'all, is CBN that they then shoot a extra hydrogen atom back at, so it like revives, if you think, right? So remember we talked about CBN is what happens whenever you're like letting the THC get overripe in the plant, right? It's like and then like they shoot this hydrogen atom and it's like, yeah, I'm back again, right? So it actually becomes more shelf life stable, and it is like 70%, I think, was like so it's like, I think from what I understand, it's like Delta 8, HHC, Delta 9 is like the strength. So Delta 8 is down here, and then the HHC, then of course Delta 9. But I think we covered a whole bunch of information in a little bit of time. I'm sorry it was a little bit all over the place. You guys are going to have to go back and rewatch and take notes. I talk fast.
I think you ladies just like killed it. I learned so much shit, and I've been doing this a while now. With like, at the end of the day, there's so much to learn. There's always new research coming out, and you two just like dropped so much knowledge. I'm just so excited. And the funniest thing, I know, like, this is just the way the universe works. My sister was with HempWorks for a really long time, right? As I'm sitting here, she sends me this message that says, before I delete all of these, how to use CBD oil, how to find your sweet spot, like all of these things. She just started sending them to me. And I said to her, I'm like, you should just do this with me. Don't delete them. I'm like, you love this. You did so well at HempWorks. Like, you love Travis and Kristen already. Just do this with me. So it's just so funny that I was like, wow, that was weird. You were saying sweet spot, and she sent me the sweet spot like picture. I was like, I almost unmuted myself.
Alignment.
Like, man.
Divine alignment.
Yeah, like wild. But you guys, this was so great. Jillian, thank you so much for coming on and dropping your knowledge on us. Like,
thanks for having me.
You're both just like a plethora of knowledge, and it was just awesome. There's so many people that, like, hopefully this makes you a little bit more comfortable talking about your product. Hopefully this makes you just a little bit more comfortable to be able to answer some people's questions. And if you're still not comfortable and somebody has a question, ask somebody else. Don't be
the genuine answer is, I don't know that answer, but I will find out for you and I'll be right back. Yep. And people appreciate you telling them that you don't know and that you'll get them an answer rather than just BSing them. Yeah. Also, y'all, we have fire products here. Let me just stress that one more time. Do not let people tell you that these products aren't worth it. Do not let them tell you that they're too expensive, because the fact of the matter is, sure, they can go grab CBD gas station and it's going to be made in somebody's backyard with the plant that they grew wrong, that was a bad plant, and they did something to it and they slapped the label that they made on their Vista print or whatever on a jar that they bought off Amazon and put it on a shelf, and people don't know this.
And they mix it with vegetable glycerin or something gross. And it looks like it's not.
Depending on where people are like, I've tried the CBD before, be like, where'd you get it from? Because if it wasn't from an ISO certified lab from farm tested hemp, you didn't have any.
Yeah, you're right. All right, ladies, we got a minute. 9 o'clock, opportunity call Thursday night. It's Travis and Kristen on tonight. I don't know. Yeah, they're on tonight. Yeah. All right. Well, this is a great time. Funnel people into it. We appreciate you all. I will have this recording up in a couple of minutes, and we'll see you all next Thursday. Thank you both so much. You're amazing. And congratulations on both your successes. Love you both so much. And I will talk to you guys later.